Will DeWalt's Atomic Series Impact Driver work for you? Come back and find out. I'm Tim Johnson. You're watching Shop Tour Reviews. This is the DeWalt Atomic Series, and it's their DCF809, and this is their Impact Driver. Now, the Atomic Series is known for their compactness, if you will. But on the Impact Driver, their flagship product, the 887, is already pretty compact. But the Atomic is just a little bit smaller and does have the brushless motor in it. Now, it can also be bought a little cheaper than the 887 because it's less feature-esque, and let's see how much power it has compared to the 887. So let's talk about the features. We'll go over on the test bench. We'll run this thing through the ringer, and more than that, we're going to test different batteries on this as well. Stick around. This is the DeWalt DCF809, and it is their Atomic Impact Driver. Now, this runs on the 20-volt platform, but it is part of their Atomic series, which is a compact series. Still carries a brushless motor, but it's not like their flagship product, the 887, which is the XR series, which is the brushless motor, but it also carries 3 speeds. The Atomic's not going to have the 3 speeds. Going to have a single speed, but you are going to have a variable speed trigger, and what you're going to get is 2,800 RPMs and up to 3,200 impacts per minute. And on the 887, you're getting 3,200 RPMs and up to 3,800 impacts per minute. Now, as far as torque goes, on the Atomic, you're getting up to 1,700 inch-pounds, which we'll actually test that here in a moment. And on the XR, on the 887, you're getting up to 1,825 inch-pounds of torque. Now, we're going to test that and see how well they do. We're also going to test some batteries, because one thing, we reviewed a combo of the Atomic combo, I don't know, I think last year. And one of the beefs I had about it was the battery selection that it came with. A lot of times you'll get the Atomic series kitted with a 1.5 amp hour battery. I believe that hurts the tool a little bit in both runtime as well as performance. And we're going to see that. We're going to start off with the 1.5 amp hour and move up from there. But as far as that, this is a very simple tool, which I've said this before, in an Impact Driver, I like simplicity. I like to let my finger handle the power output that I need to apply to the fastener. I don't like a lot of special buttons and everything else. So I'm fine with no speeds on here, just having that variable speed trigger. But if you like speeds, if you like those automated features, then step up to the bigger XR and to the more powerful per se. Then you'll get those 3 different speeds and precision mode in speed 1 with this 887 as well. But let's test this out. We're mainly reviewing the 809, but we're doing a little comparison on what are you getting that's different from like their flagship 887. What kind of value are you getting out of it? How much money are you saving? And then as well as size-wise as well. With that said about size, let's go ahead and take a measurement here on the weight. We'll go ahead and strip the battery off of here. And we'll take a weight here on grams. You're looking at 965, or if we go to pounds and ounces, you're looking at 2 pounds and 2 ounces for the Atomic. And for the 887, you're looking at 2 pounds, 0.3 ounces. So 2 pounds, 0.3 ounces, or 0.2 ounces there. 2 pounds, 2. So this is actually a heavier tool. Yeah, 2 pounds, 2 full ounces there, than the XR series. That's interesting. So this is actually a lighter tool here. Very curious, makes me want to pull that apart. But anyway, so let's go ahead and switch back to grams. That'll give us a more defined number there. So on the XR or the 887, you're looking at 915 grams. And on the Atomic, you're looking at 965 grams. So 50 grams heavier on the Atomic, which is supposedly a more compact and smaller tool than the XR, and it has less features as well. So that's interesting to note. Now, as far as height-wise, these are about identical as far as height. These bumps may be just a touch taller on the Atomic. And then as far as tip to tail, The Atomic is just maybe an 1/8 inch shorter than the 887. Not much whatsoever. Not much that you're actually going to notice. As far as grip, ergonomics, they're basically identical tools as far as holding in your hand. A little lower bump here, a little bump out there below the motor, but other than that, it's going to remain the same. Now, when you're inserting bits into the 1/4 inch impact mechanism, you can see here into the chuck that one finger I can insert that. I don't have to pull the collar back or anything else. Now I can also eject this, but it's not got enough force to actually eject that bit all the way out, so it's still going to retain it. So I can pull that out if I need to. But as far as one hand insert, I can definitely do that. I don't have to pull that ring back to unlock that, and that is going to lock into place. And again, pull that ring out, and it did eject at that time. But definitely don't have to have two hands for inserting and removing those bits. That's really nice to have in an impact driver. Okay, if you haven't watched our channel before, what we're going to do here is we're going to use the impact driver, and by the way, we have a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch adapter here, or the 3/8 adapter, and then from the 3/8 we have a 24mm socket, and got a couple of hash marks on there, this just so you can see whether it's rotating or not. And what we're going to do is we're going to tighten these up as tight as they'll go for, say, 5 seconds each. So we're going to, once it starts hammering, count to 5, move on to the next one, do all 10, and we're going to do that with the 1.5 amp hour battery. And then what we're going to do, we'll step up and do the 2 amp hour, and then maybe we'll even do a 4 and a 5, just to see the power difference. And we'll test the 887 as well to see how close we are between the two. So we'll run through all those, and then once we get done with that, we'll get a torque reading with our torque wrench, and then we'll come back and tighten each of these to a certain amount of foot-pounds, and then we'll release them using the impact driver to see how many foot-pounds, or say we're torquing these to 125, 150, 175, 200, and so forth, to see how much power they will deliver to remove those fasteners. That gives us that breakaway torque. So if we torque something to 200 foot-pounds and it breaks it free, then that basically says this has 200 foot-pounds of breakaway torque. That's a big marketing term, I know, but that's where they're deriving that from. So that's what we're going to give you as well. Now these are rated in inch-pounds, so 1,700 inch-pounds, you're going to divide that by 12, so what's that? That's about 140 foot-pounds. And then the 887 is rated at 1,825 foot-pounds, which is a little over 150 foot-pounds. So again, inch-pounds is 1,718.25, but if you divide by 12, you're going to get right at 140 foot-pounds and 150 foot-pounds. I don't have a fuel gauge on here, but I will tell you that I just pulled this off the charge and it is ready to go. So here we go, 5 seconds each. Okay, it definitely feels like that this battery is already laying down. So that 1.5 amp hour battery, again, I don't have a gauge to go by, but it definitely feels like by the end it was kind of falling off just by hearing that impacting, if you will. So let's take our torque wrench, we'll back these off and see what type of reading we get. Okay, got our torque wrench. $116.1. So now I'm going to step up to the 2.0 amp hour battery, and one thing I like about this is right away you get a fuel gauge on here so we can see that we've got a full charge, and then we're going to run through, do the same thing, see what kind of results we get. Okay, that's a 2 amp hour battery, so let's go ahead and take those off and see what we get. 124.5. 2. Okay, just by those numbers, I know it's gone up, even though there's a factor we're going to divide by to get the true tightening force or tightening torque, fastening torque, if you will. But now what I'm going to do, I'm going to step up to a 4 amp hour battery. So now this is the DCB 204, so 4 amp hour lithium ion battery. We're going to see how much it'll step up from there. Full charge. Here we go. Okay, so we've done the 1.5 amp hour battery, we've done the 2 amp hour battery, now we've done the 4 amp hour battery. So let's go ahead and step up to the 5 amp hour battery, and we'll see how it does, and then we'll compare it to the 887 with the 5 amp hour battery as well. So let's get started. Full charge, 5 amp hour on the DCF809. Here we go. Okay, so let's remove them with our torque wrench and get a reading on the 5 amp hour. Well, 40, 30, 6, 11, 24. Okay, now what I want to do, I want to bring in the 887, and we're going to test it with the 5 amp hour battery, which, by the way, it feels like we may have had a little power drop there, and I think it may be due to actually this heating up, because it's pretty warm. So it's ran through several tests in succinct or one after another. So we're going to run the 887 and see how well it does. Okay, so let's run the DCF 887 with the 5 amp hour battery. Still have a full charge in speed 3. In speed 3, full charge, 5 amp hour battery. Here we go. Okay, there you have it. There's the 5 amp hour on the DCF 887. Let's take those off and see what kind of readings we get on it. Here we go. 142.3. 7. 1, 7, 8, 3, 9. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to compile all this data here, bring it back to you, divide by a factor to get an idea of what the fastening torque is on these impact drivers. But let's go ahead now. What we're going to do, we're going to torque each one of these to a specified amount. Then we're going to run through and see how much it will release. Now, I'm not going to run through every battery, so what I'll do is I'll start with a 1.5 and I'll see how far it can get. And then once it stops, I'll put on the 2.0, let it try it, go as far as it'll get, and then so forth. So we're only running through kind of once, not having to do, 5 different tests like we just did. And then I'll do the same thing with the 887 and see how far it will get as well. So here we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is take our torque gun here. And we're going to start with 100 foot-pounds. And we're going to go 100, 125, 150, 175, 200, and so forth. So here we go at 100 foot-pounds. Okay, so here's what we have. We have this fastener tightened to 100 foot-pounds, 125, 150, 175, 200, 225, and 250. So we're going to run through and see if we can break these free. I'm going to start with the 1.5 amp hour battery on the DCF809. Okay, so that's 100 foot-pounds. Now 125. Now 150. Okay, so it did 150, had a real rough time doing it. Let's go to 175. Now 200 foot-pounds. Okay, you got that. Now 225. Okay, right on the 10th second is when I was going to stop, and it broke that free finally on 225. So let's go to 250. Okay, would not do 250. Let's put in the 2 amp hour battery. And see if we can get 250 foot-pounds. Again, right on the 10th second, it broke that 250 foot-pounds free. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do here are these smaller bolts here that I use with my 3/8 sockets. They will only handle really a little over 200 foot-pounds, or right at 250 foot-pounds. These are class 12.9 bolts and fasteners. And they will handle right at 250 foot-pounds, but that is their max. I don't want to ruin them, so we can't go any further with these. So we're going to have to step up to the other side of our system here, test with the bigger bolts. We'll have to put a reducer on a bigger socket, and then see how far we go with the other batteries. All right, so now what we're going to do is we have to step up to our larger bolts here. So I've got to run this adapter. I've got a welded on adapter to that 1/2 inch socket, because you cannot get a 3/8 inch socket for this size nut because we've maxed out our smaller fasteners. So what we're going to do now, we're going to start with 300 foot-pounds, and then I'm going to jump 50 increments. So I'm going to do 300, 350, 400, and 450 here. Okay, so we're still on the 2 amp hour battery, and let's see what kind of power we've got left on it. Yeah, we still got three bars left on it, so still says 100% battery life. We know it's not 100, but anyway, so we're going to start at 300 foot-pounds for the 2 amp hour battery. Okay, go to 350. Okay, could not do 350 with a 2 amp hour. Step up to the 4 amp hour, 350 foot-pounds. Okay, now let's see if we can do 400 foot-pounds. No, so 350 foot-pounds with a 1/4 inch impact, that's pretty impressive. Let's see if the 887 will break free the 400 foot-pounds. So no, could not handle that. In fact, let's go back and let's redo 350 just to make sure that we didn't break it free with the other one. 350 foot-pounds with the 4 amp hour battery. Here we go. Okay, so I only let it hit for 10 seconds, so it could not do the 350 even with the 4 amp hour battery. And that's what I thought. So basically it was because it had been hammered on with the other battery, and then we put the new battery in and continued to hammer on the same one. I should have retorqued it. So we're maxing out at 350 foot-pounds. Let me put the 5 amp hour on. 5 amp hour at 350 foot-pounds. Again, we've already hammered on this one. It probably should break it free. So right at the 10th second, it broke it free. So we're going to call it 350 foot-pounds for the DCF809. And let's see if the 887 will break free the 400 foot-pounds. Okay, so it did 400. Let's see if it'll break free 450. So no, at 450 foot-pounds, would not break that one free, but it did do 400. So the DCF, the 809, did 350 with the 4 and 5 amp hour battery, and the 887 with the 5 amp hour did 400, but would not do 450. Well, that was quite impressive that we had to go so far as to step up to our bigger size fasters on the other side of our test rig. So then we had to run our adapter that we've got welded onto our 1/2-inch socket, which a bunch of people always say, oh, you're losing power. But anyway, it's a welded adapter onto the socket. We're not losing much power. Anyways, it was impressive to see just in a battery change or battery changes how much you can step up the power in these tools. Now you're going to increase heat in the transmission of these as well. So keep an eye on that. These things are going to warm up when you're using them. When you're using them in succession like that, or one after another, if you will, you're going to heat these up. So be sure that you're taking care of them and not overheating them. Now, the Atomic series, it does have a few less features than the DCF887 or their flagship, the DCF888 with Tool Connect, but still it offers a lot of power. In fact, when we got up there, what was it like? Arguably, 50 less foot-pounds, but still we were breaking free 300 and something foot-pounds with the DCF809, and then the DCF887 would actually break free the 400 foot-pounds, but still, you're going way beyond what you ought to be putting on a 1/4-inch adapter, if you will. By the way, people always ask us, how do you get those to hold up? And I will tell you, the DeWalt adapters, the Milwaukee adapters, the Makita adapters, they will all break when we get that high. But these Husky, and I believe Cobalt as well, but this is specifically a Husky 1/4-inch to 1/2-inch adapter, or a 1/4-inch to 3/8 adapter, and it holds up remarkably. We will break them from time to time, but again, it's the Husky adapter that we're able to do that with. Anyway, very impressive. Now let's look at the tightening torque. So what we did, we ran through all the tightening sequences, and then we took our torque wrench and we broke all those free. So what did we come up with? Well, I kind of shot those on the screen as we were going through, but it was speeding through there. But here's what we get with that. When we break those free, we know it takes less force to break a fastener free than it does to tighten it. Roughly, that's about 80%. That's the rule we use, because over and over we check, and it's somewhere between 75 and 85%. So we're going to use the 80 rule, okay? So we take those figures and then we divide by 80. So the average with the 1.5 amp hour battery on the DCF809, our average torque wrench reading was 95.3 foot-pounds. So we divide by 0.8 and what we get is 119.1 foot-pounds of fastening force on the DCF809 with the 1.5 amp hour battery. So that's a lot of times when you buy the Atomic series, is what it gets kitted with, is 1.5 amp hour batteries. Now, so what happens when you step up to the 2.0 battery? Well, I'm glad you asked. So the torque readings, the torque wrench readings on the DCF809 with the 2 amp hour battery, we got 109.2 foot-pounds, and divide by our 0.8 and we get 136.5 foot-pounds. Now that's an increase of 14.6%, just jumping up a half amp hour size from 1.5 to 2.0. And by the way, you also get that fuel gauge on the battery too with the 2.0 amp hour battery. So you're gaining almost 15% just by jumping up a battery size. Now, what happens when we go to a 4 amp hour battery on the DCF809, on the Atomic series impact driver? Well, we got a torque reading of 127.6 foot-pounds, and again, dividing by our factor is going to give us 159.5 foot-pounds, and that's an increase of 33.9%. So 34% increase over the 1.5 amp hour, over the 1.5 amp hour battery with the 4 amp hour battery. And then jumping to the 5, we didn't have as big of a jump then. Basically, we got up to 129.7 foot-pounds, and which gave us a factored rating of 162.1, and it jumped 36.1% over the 1.5 amp hour battery, but that's only like a 2% gain over the 4 amp hour. So jumping from the 4 amp hour to the 5 amp hour, not seeing a huge increase, but then again, we were starting to heat up our tool quite a bit. We did let it cool down a little bit, but that could have come into play. But still, going to a 4 or 5 amp hour battery, you're getting, 30+%, 35% or so increase over that 1.5 amp hour battery that a lot of times it's kitted with. Now, price-wise, when you're looking at the Atomic, and by the way, the 5 amp hour on the DCF887, we got 143.8 foot-pounds, which factored to like 179, 180 foot-pounds of torque. And I'm not going to say what the gain is over that. They're two different tools, but again, you're getting 179.7 foot-pounds of force out of that is what we calculated, because off the torque wrench, we're looking at 143.8. Price-wise, what are we looking at? Now, bare tool, that's what we're going to go with. Bare tool, the 809 is $119. Bare tool, the 887 is $139. So you're looking at a $20 difference in these tools. So if you're looking for feature-esque, if you're looking for a lot of features and the maximum torque you can get, then by all means, then get the DCF887, $139. A lot of times you'll see that kitted with the drill driver or in a larger combo kit. I know the DCF809, the Atomic, a lot of times you'll see that kitted as well. Even the 6-piece tool combo kit that we just reviewed here a month or so ago, it was kitted with this actual unit in. So a lot of times you'll get this Atomic 809 kitted with these other kits, and in fact, it came with the 4 amp hour battery. So this is a great and powerful tool when you have a 4 amp hour battery in it. So hey, I highly recommend it with that higher amp hour battery. I'm telling you, when we originally reviewed these Atomic series tools, I really didn't care for it for that small battery. Number one, you get no fuel gauge. Number two, it just didn't output the power that we expected out of it. But definitely with these higher amp hour batteries, doing very, very well. Hey, check them out. Again, they're from DeWalt. It's the DCF809. And if you want their flagship, which you can see, this has been beat around the shop for quite a while now, the DCF887. Also keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you don't mind, would you hit that like and subscribe button, but only if you like this video. By all means, if you did not like this video, give us a thumbs down. But would you let us know in the comments why? Have a great day and keep smiling.